Big Mouth is back, and it's just as out there with its humour and rudeness as it was last year, but that's the style of the show. Season 1 brought a lot of controversy about the show, and people were unsure if it was suitable for television due to it showing naked children in animated form and everything that's going on in their mind through puberty. However, people loved it and found it entertaining, leading Netflix to commission it for another season. So, is season 2 of the show funny? Is it worth investing 10 hours of your time into? Let's find out. Before I go ahead, make sure you go over to my Twitter @brainpilot_ and drop me a follow so you can vote on what the next video I do is. You pick this one. So without further ado, I'm Brainpilot, and here is Big Mouth Season 2. Is it worth watching? I'll keep this as spoiler free as possible. The story. As per last season, you follow the life of 4 teenagers, but more specifically 2 best friends, Nick and Andrew. But as well as that, you have Jesse and Jay's individual stories. The main story arc that you follow is about how you go through puberty when you're younger and all of the gruesome, gross, but part of life features that happen. You see it all on screen, and the show doesn't hold back with the visual elements. It's based after the first season, and each character has developed that little bit more compared to the last season. I like the main story that we see. For the people who have been through puberty and come out the other side, you can relate to a lot of the things that is shown and the fears that all the characters have, and the questions that they have. This is due to the fact that we have all been in some of the situations that the characters have been through. It's part of life, and it's reflected well due to the way that the story has been composed. As well as the main story, each of the 4 main characters have their own individual story arcs that you follow. Nick is underdeveloped, and you follow how he goes through that. Andrew is overdeveloped, and you see how he deals with the struggles of being freakishly big. Jessie is rebelling against her parents, and you see how she deals with her parents getting a divorce. And Jay's story is about his mother neglecting him and him not getting that much attention from his family and essentially being forgotten about. I like the way that they did this, as these are all problems that any child can tend to relate to, even though it's not just puberty. People can relate to their parents getting a divorce or being the forgotten child. Although they don't always touch on the subject in a delicate way, they do at times. One part of the story that I was slightly disappointed with was the fact that Nick and Andrew's friendship wasn't a main part of the story compared to last season. I would have liked to have seen them on screen together a lot more, like last season. However, maybe it was because we established in the first season just how strong their friendship is, but I would have liked to have seen them together quite a bit more. The characters. One thing that I like about the 2 main characters is they are actually based off of the 2 writers of the show. You can definitely tell when it comes to the storytelling, as it makes it all the more believable and feel that little bit more real. Let's take a look at the main characters. Nick. Nick is one of the main characters that we follow in the show, and here's the smooth-talking, underdeveloped, puberty-wise character. As a character, he is fully developed and is a great character to follow most of the time. It was good to see him a lot more confident this season compared to the last. Last season I felt as though he was quite weak, and Andrew was the character that you followed and got to know more. Whereas with this season, Nick actually having a hormone monster or 2 gave his character more depth, and we actually got to see that he is better than the hormone monsters that he gets. He's smooth enough on his own. Andrew. Although Andrew is the overdeveloped character, he is the one that is awful when it comes to trying to get attention from a girl, and needs all the help that he can get. That is probably why he is a good hormone monster. He always comes in his pants, has boners, has a crappy mustache, and is awkward around everyone, so he does need a lot of help. This season, I didn't find myself liking Andrew as much as I did in the last. In my opinion, the way that he acted in certain situations led me to not be on his side as much. However, I did find him really funny. Maurice. Maurice the hormone monster, as he was in the last, is by far the funniest character in the show. I don't know what the show would be like if he wasn't a part of it, or voiced by the voice actor. He always says the right things at the right time and sums the mind of a teenage boy up perfectly. His character is spot on, and I can't fault it in the slightest way possible. Also, let's just talk about when he shaved off all of his hair. How weird did he look? Jessie. Jessie is a troubled child. Her mother turned gay after having an affair, her mother left her dad, and now the dad is living in the basement whilst they're going through a divorce. How would that not mess anybody up, let alone a young teenage girl? She's the rebellious one throughout the season, and I think that she's most probably the best one who that suits. I'm glad she got that story arc. She tries drugs, steals, and gets in a lot of trouble, but none of it really has a detrimental effect, and it's interesting to watch. Jay. Jay has a heavier role in this season of the show. He's not just the fourth friend that you forgot about. Last season you saw that his family was clearly dysfunctional, but this time you understand just how forgotten about he is, and how his mother's an alcoholic. This allows you to feel more for the character and understand a little bit more about why he is the way he is. He clearly uses magic as an escape, and the way in which he befriends Coach Steve and what happens with that story highlights that. It's very weird. Nick's old hormone monster. This hormone monster is actually quite funny. I remember at the start of season 1 thinking I hope we don't see more of him, but this time I would have quite liked to have seen more. He's so bad at what he does and it's hilarious to watch. Whoever he helps, they can seem to do better just by themselves. Even Coach Steve, the shame wizard. I don't have much to say about this character. He's interesting and brings a fair bit to the table, but the way he always appears and speaks to the characters in their minds reminds me a lot of Lord Voldemort. The humour. The humour in the show is one of a kind, and you wouldn't find it on any other piece of television. They talk about every rude thing regarding sex, puberty, and the human body that you could possibly imagine, but it makes you laugh out loud every single time. I'm honestly surprised that it's a 15. They swear a lot, there's gun violence, and visually, something I'm surprised is suitable for 15s. When you look at some aged 18 rated films and shows, they're not half as bad as Big Mouth. The humour is a huge part of what makes the show what it is, and if that changed, then I don't think that it would work at all. When talking about puberty and growing up, it's an awkward time where a lot of mistakes are made. You get hurt a lot and you feel embarrassed constantly. So by having it in your face in the way that the show makes it all the more relatable, as people can see any of the four main characters as themselves when they were at school going through the exact same thing. So in my opinion, the humour is spot on. Final thoughts. I feel as though the new season of Big Mouth topped the last one, and you got to understand each individual character a lot more. They provided a lot more depth to each of the main characters. The throwbacks to the previous seasons were great to see, and I loved the way that they kept referring to themselves, breaking the fourth wall, being aware that they were an animation, and advertising Netflix. I thought it was something different to what we saw in the first season, and it was refreshing to see. I feel as though I can't see a better depiction of teenage years of a child when it comes to puberty and the ups and downs that they go through without censoring it. Big Mouth nails it. It doesn't need censoring because at that time, when you're going through that stage in your life, you didn't censor anything. Everything was out there. Although the show is about puberty, they touch on deeper subjects that come along with it, and they execute that perfectly. As a viewer, you're either Nick, Andrew, Jesse, or Jay. But whoever you are, you've got a bit of Maurice in you, if not all of him. Big Mouth Season 2 is most definitely worth watching. Go and watch it now. If you want to support the channel in a different way other than just watching the videos, then I've recently set up a Patreon, and by donating, you can get yourself some exclusive content that's only available over there. Go take a look and see what you think. What did you think of Big Mouth Season 2? Did you enjoy it? Who's your favourite character in the show? Leave a comment down below. And don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.